Here's your flower.
Oh, thank you. I don't have time for this one. Do you want me to mute this at all, or nobody's on yet?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
So let's see if I can find it here. So what if I just search?
Oh, we have one viewer. Is that you?
Nope.
Who's watching us? Say hi. We'll start talking lots at like 7, but we just wanted to get things up and running. Last couple times we've had a hard time getting our lives up and running, so feel free to say hello when you jump on and see us. Just getting our stuff together that we want to share today. Got a visitor today.
Yeah, he's very annoying. So
We're
rather
just a
have him down
baby.
there or up here than barking at us.
We're just a baby. We're just a baby. We're just a baby. We're just a cutie baby. Right?
Okay.
Oh, Brittany. Hi, Brittany.
Hello. Okay, how come I can't find this page?
Oh, I think you spelled it wrong. You didn't finish spelling it. Ganawenjigewikweg. Oh, it was just down there. There it is. Why are you biting me? Why are you trying to eat me? Oh, sassy. Sassy. Oh, sassy. Oh, that sassy baby. Good thing you made it there on time. Yeah, okay. So I'm sitting at home. It's like almost 6 o'clock. I have my jammies on. We just got done eating dinner. Having a muffin Mom and I picked up at Sam's today. And all of a sudden I get a notification on my phone. So I pick up my phone. I'm like, oh crap, we go live in an hour. I suppose I should get dressed to get to Penny's house. And I told Penny I'd be here by 6 o'clock. So yeah, didn't get here at 6 o'clock, but.
Yeah, well, she said 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I was checking a few times. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm hungry. I'm eating.
Oops. At least I'm here. And we're starting early.
Yeah, with no complications.
I know.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, we hopped on here, I don't know, probably like 7-8 minutes early, just to make sure that we're live and that everyone can see us and hear us, and so it looks like we're all good.
It doesn't show that I'm live probably because I'm probably on.
Oh, sure. Cool. I should have just came here in my jammies.
Yeah, who cares? Just put a normal top on. Nobody
Right?
would have been the wiser. Yeah, that's kind of nuts.
You're just a baby.
I wouldn't have told.
We have a dog as our special guest tonight because he's just a baby. Oh, just a baby. Oh, just a baby.
I can't do anything. You should feel sorry for me.
No, we just a baby.
Because he's so demanding, and I know he's just a puppy, but oh my God, he's so demanding.
you can come to my house and teach my doggy how to cuddle and how to like lick and how to like be lovey because he don't know how to do any of that. And he's 14 now. He's an old puppy. He don't want none of that.
He's probably, well, 14 in dog years is quite old.
Yes, he's very old. Oh, little baby. Oh, little baby. Oh, little baby.
And we did kind of teach him that he's like the king of the house. He probably has 15 toys over there that he refuses to play with while we're on live.
Are you going to try to eat my hand? Are you eating my hand? Ow! It doesn't hurt. Why are you trying to eat my finger? That's not a toy. That's not a toy. Why are you trying to eat me? Ow! Owie! Oh, Cassie. Oh, Cassie. That's my hand.
Yeah, where's Easter?
You stinker. I suppose we could start 2 minutes earlier.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we just wanted, well, hello everybody, first of all. Hope everyone's doing good. It's Friday. The work week's over, for most of us anyway. Well, not for me because I'm not working.
I don't even want to hear it.
But I am making great progress on my thesis, so I feel really good about that. I'll finish that up and graduate in December finally. So that's a good thing too.
Is he being annoying? I'll
He's
leave.
being a good boy.
Okay.
Do you want to start with the reunion that we had this summer with our family, and then
So I don't think we had a live since we had our family reunion in June.
was it end of June or beginning of July?
Yeah,
End of
something
June,
like
yeah.
that. And we met Bev McLeod, who is from Canada, and we've been talking to her son for
Jeremy.
yeah
Yep.
for a while now, probably for a good year. Huh?
Mhm.
And then he's like, "Hey, can you talk to my mom?" I was like, "What? Ah, oh my gosh, okay." And then so I started talking to his mom, and then she's like, "Oh, you're having a family reunion? Well, I'm coming." I was like, "No way!" So that was pretty cool. So we got to meet her, and she is, I believe, our fourth cousin on the McLeod side. And then in August of next year, there is talk about us having a Desjardins
Mhm.
family reunion. So I'm really looking forward to that. Desjardins, McLeod, whatever, in Canada. So
Mhm.
I'm super pumped to meet more family and to meet the family we've already met,
Mhm.
like Bev. So it was really cool to connect with her and say hello, and for her to make that long trip,
Mhm.
just to come to that. So it was super important to her and to Jeremy. So it was as equally important to us, and it was really nice. It was really nice to connect.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, we're finally finding some of our relatives, the Jardin McLeod side in Canada. So yeah, that's been really cool. You want to show that really thick book that we've been going through?
yes,
We have been doing tons and tons and tons and tons of research, if you're all
so
wondering what we've been up to. So this amazing book, you can see, started in 1811 through 1901, something like that.
here's like a page of it. I'm sure you can't see it as clearly as we can, but what it does is it offers baptisms for a lot of our family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like my book that I have of our, with
That's
all
a
these,
Durant roll.
yeah, of all the paper clips. Christine has the same for the
Mhm.
St. Mary's Parish for this book.
Yeah.
In finding our family. So we've been working off her list now, and verifying. Well, it's actually pretty cool because of all the research that we put in, I would say 99.9% of the information we had in was accurate. So yay, go team.
Yes.
But it's still a lot of work in making sure that all those details and stuff are correct, because during those times they just didn't have good documentation. And then they had the border issue, right? So Canada became Canada, and United States said, you know what, you can't cross unless you have a passport, or all that jazz started to happen. So then, getting that information or going back home was very difficult, especially when half our family lived in Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and then the other half lived in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. So, and it's just really legitimately across the bridge.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
what's
far.
really cool about that
Mhm.
book, because it was in 1811. Michigan didn't become a state until 1837, and so most of the baptisms in this book are relatives from the Canadian side too, and those are some of the records that we've been missing. We haven't been able to find.
Mhm.
So it's really cool that this church had made this book, and that we have baptism records from 1811 to 1900. The book also has actual birth dates for some of the relatives that we had. We know, like, census records shows that they were born around this date, right? So this book shows the person who was baptized. It shows their baptism date. It shows their birth date. It shows their parents, and it also shows their sponsors. So that's been another really cool tool for us, because a lot of times sponsors, just like they are now, right, in baptisms, is another relative. And so sometimes we'll be looking at these and we're like, oh, wait, I bet that's the sister of one of the parents, or a relative, or a neighbor, perhaps, right, from the same tribe. And we recognize that name because we have them in our tree as well. So it's been really cool to, again, verify that, hey, our records are really accurate. We at least had the year. Now we have the birth dates. Now we have the baptism records.
Mhm.
And we're finding a lot more relatives. I can't tell you how many hundreds of names we found in this book. I have a lot of tabs in mine. With me being home right now working on my thesis, I'll take breaks from that and go through these books, and you can talk to my mom and my husband and my son. Sometimes I don't go to bed till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'm either working on my thesis or I'm stuck in Ancestry. So Penny and I have been doing tons of research, again, with these baptism records, with Ancestry records. Because Penny pays for the Ancestry.com, you've found a lot more. Like, what are some of the recent articles that you found for some of our family? Wasn't there a newspaper clipping or something from
Yeah.
the early 1900s that had our family members' names?
Yeah, so there were a lot of newspaper clippings about that. There were
Military records too?
military records, which is, to tie them, is extremely an aha moment, because those are very difficult. And I know a lot of our family, well, we've heard it through the grapevine, there's nothing to confirm or deny these allegations, but getting our Canadian ancestors getting U.S. passports with illegal documentation, so they could serve in the armed forces. So
they went to Rogers City, right?
Mhm.
And were able to pay, like, I don't know, $2 to $5 or something like that to get a birth certificate that said that they were born in the United States.
Mhm.
That's what happened with my mom's grandpa, right, Philip?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, that's another discovery we recently found. I don't remember if you found it or I found it. It
What?
was a birth record, I believe, on the Canadian side for Daniel Murdoch Scanlon,
Yeah.
right? So we have him listed as Philip McLeod.
Mhm.
That's what his birth certificate for Rogers City says. That's how we know for sure. Uncle Francis told us that, right? Like,
Right.
oh, you could go to Rogers City and there's a doctor there that is going to say you were born there, but you really weren't. That's how you got U.S. citizenship, right? And then you could serve in the Army. And so we have other census records, though. Same family, same parents, same siblings, but the name Daniel Murdoch. And we're like, how can that be, right? And then there's another census record that has another name for Philip, of Angus. Same exact birth date. They weren't twins. We know that. He didn't have a twin sibling at all.
Mhm.
And that's when I started looking at the Scanlon last name, because we have Philip's father's listed as Scanlon, but then there's like a marriage certificate that shows Mary McLeod and, no, Mary Scanlon and Thomas McLeod, which that wasn't the case.
Right.
So we were confused, like, is his father Thomas McLeod? Is it Thomas Scanlon? Well, we since verified that it was indeed Scanlon, and then found that I'll have to double check if it was a birth certificate or a baptism record for Daniel Murdoch Scanlon.
Right.
So that's how we know for sure that they were Scanlon. So Mary was with Tom Scanlon for, I don't know, she had 3 or 4 kids with him,
Mm-hmm.
and then she remarried and had more kids. And from our understanding, it sounds like she might have parted ways in that good way and didn't want the Scanlon name, so she changed all her kids to McLeod.
Right.
And that's why it says Philip McLeod instead of Philip Scanlon.
Right.
Some of his military records show that.
Yeah.
He had
Well,
both names, right?
Yeah. In addition, his marriage certificate to Josephine
Yep.
was Scanlon.
Yep.
Daniel Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's weird,
Mhm.
and that's how we get super confused, and then go down a rabbit hole and stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning.
I do that
And then we
often.
send each other texts saying, "Damn you! Why did you have to give me that name? Because now I can't sleep."
Yeah.
And so that's what we do. Ugh, it's crazy. But Christine found a lot of our ancestors. I don't know if you want to explain
Oh,
that,
sure.
and then you can share the page. I can
Okay.
take my annoying dog.
He's just eating my hand, he's fine. Okay, so when we had initially taken Uncle Francis to the Gaylord Diocese, because that's where we're told that their boarding school records were held at, they had this big book. It was almost, maybe even a little bit bigger than this
Yeah.
book here.
Mhm.
It's a pretty thick book. And it was a list of every child who attended Holy Childhood. So we mentioned this in our first live, that we initially thought our relatives attended Mount Pleasant, but for our grandparents, my mom's parents and her siblings, and then my mom's dad, and so her mom and dad both, and all of their siblings, was right around the time that Mount Pleasant was shutting down, and then they were getting transferred to Holy Childhood. So they were doing the intake for them. And so this book that we had seen at the Gaylord Diocese is a book that they created that just has, it doesn't say the parent's name, it just has the kid's name.
Mm-hmm.
But we were told when we brought Uncle Francis there, because he was a survivor of the school and he had gone there and he's still alive, they would show us his record. And my mom had grandma's birth certificate along in case they were to question. They didn't. They did let us see that her and her siblings were there too, and they showed us this index card that had their parents' names listed on it, so I know they have record of it. And then they had like only school record was a couple grades, and Uncle Francis was even like, what? We went to school? We had, like, he doesn't remember any of that. So this book, again, she set it down and she's like, well, you can take a look at this book, and she's like sliding it close to us while I step out of the room, right? And so Penny, she's got her phone and she's like, snap, 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 taking as many pictures as we can, but
Mhm.
starting at the years my grandma was there, maybe a few years before and a few after. So definitely not the whole book. Since then, we went to Holy Childhood, the actual church that had the boarding school there. The boarding school itself was torn down, but the grounds are still there, and the church is still there, and they've expanded. And they did not have any records for us. They didn't even have pictures. They have older pictures, like from the 1950s, I think, on, but
Mhm.
nothing prior to that. But they do have, is it microfilm or some kind of reels or
Yeah.
something that they have pictures on, but no one or the time to go through them. So there probably are pictures of our family there. I just don't know when they're going to get around to finding them and sharing them and that kind of thing. So they also had this book. And at the time that we had first gone there, we didn't go through it in great detail. But I talked to the guy afterwards and I'm like, hey, if my mom and I come back there, can I take pictures of like the entire book? He's like, I don't see why not. Because the Gaylord Diocese is not selling this book to anyone outside of tribes in Michigan where they know students had come from.
Right.
So apparently our tribe has a book. We've talked to anybody we can possibly think of, the tribal historian, the enrollment department, nobody has the book, so we
And
don't know.
We gave those pictures
Yeah.
that I snapped. We put them on a drive and we gave them to the tribal office and said, here, this will help you.
Yeah.
And, they were really excited about it, but they didn't give us any help.
Yeah, they don't have the book. So that's why my mom and I are like, hey, if we come back there, can we just take pictures of whatever we want? He's like, go for it. So we all know my mom can talk. Oh, hi, Kate, right? Mom can talk. She can tell you an event that happened that lasted maybe 5 minutes long, and it's going to take an hour to tell a story. Love you, Mom, but you know how to tell a story, and you leave all the extra details, right? Which is perfect because she kept this guy busy while I literally took pages of the front of the book all the way to the end of the book. Mom did a wonderful job talking his head off as I'm snapping pictures of the entire book. So we have to convert them to PDFs and all that other thing, but I took the time and went through the entire, well, the pictures of the book, and I made a list of anyone who was on our family tree and ancestry.com, starting from 1894 and all the way up to 1955. And I'm sure there's more relatives and there's other dates on here, but I just, like any name that stood out, like, oh, I've seen that name in our family tree. So, oh, even though it took me several days and several nights till 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I know I missed some. So this list right now has 71 names, but I didn't put the list of my mom's mom and her siblings or her dad and his siblings because we already have verification from them that they were at the school and we have the dates. So recently I emailed the head of Gaylord Diocese. We've worked with them in the past, but the person, of course, who was there working with us before isn't there anymore. And I said, hey, I have a new list of names. I know you gave me my grandparents and their siblings, and you verified their dates that they were there. I have a new list that has about 71 names on them. Can you verify that the times that they were at the school? So she emailed me back and she said, yep, your list is you're complete and you have the right dates on there. They were all there. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I knew that, right? Because I had copies of the book, which she didn't know I had copies of the book. So I'm like, well, I really want to know the exact times they were there. So I have the first time I've seen them in the book, but how many years were they actually there? I didn't really compare the list of names I had down and how many years they were actually there. So she said, well, that'll take me some time, but I'll see what I can do. And then I mentioned, hey, we can go to Carlisle. They have an online website where you can search anybody. You don't have to prove that they're an ancestor or anyone.
Can we put it up there?
Okay, let me see if I can. I saw something where we can share our screens. Let me just see if I can do that again. I wonder if I had to click it before. I'm trying to find sharing my screen with you all. Settings. Okay, well, it showed up the first time. I'm not sure
Yeah.
why it's not showing up now.
Maybe
So
next time.
apologize for that, but I will give you the website for anyone who wants to look. Let's see, I have lots of tabs open here. Okay, so the website is Carlisle Indian. Oh yeah, I can put it in the, I'll put it in the comments here. I'll copy it, copy and paste it. Okay, I'm gonna put it in the comment section right now. So this is the Carlisle's online database, and you can search by tribal nation, you can search by name, and it will give you any information that they have. Sometimes it's just the student record card that has their name and their parents' name and the dates that they were there. Sometimes it has medical records. It has the time they arrived there and the time that they left there. If they had illnesses, there's a lot of information on some of the students there. And free, like nobody has to pay. Nobody has to say, hey, that was my ancestor. They're just able to go onto this website and pull it up. So I tried explaining that to the lady at Gaylord. I'm like, I'm not really sure why some of this information is not open to the public where anybody can view, and why there's a hesitancy to verify who the parents are. So we have the names, and for the most part, we know, yes, for sure, that is their ancestor who was there because their siblings were there too. So we have the siblings on our list, but sometimes it's a single person without the siblings, and we really want to make sure that is our relative. And I asked her, can you verify that who their parents are? I'll give you a list. I'll print it off again with the parents that we have on file. And you don't even have to tell me if it's wrong who the correct parents are. Just tell me, is this who you have and is this the parents listed? If not, that's fine too. And they have a process, and she sent me the link for it, where anyone who wants the records has to prove that you're a child of somebody who was at the school. So grandchildren, cousins, whatever, that doesn't count. So I tried explaining to her, like, hey, I can go on to Carlisle's and pull it up. Penny and I have been to the Chicago archives for any of our relatives who were at Mount Pleasant. All of those records are open access. We didn't have to provide birth certificates or proof that they are one of our ancestors or anything like that. We can search anybody's record and we can make a copy of it, right? And it has medical information. It has letters that the families had written back and forth from the superintendent and the social workers. A lot of private family information is in there. Anybody can search it. Anybody can get copies of it. So why is this Gaylord Diocese withholding this information and not sharing it with us? We're still trying to get to the bottom of that. I don't understand. I'm waiting for her to get back to me. When I gave her the list that had the parents' names on it, she said, well, no, first of all, I can't do that. But also, before I do give you the exact dates that they were there, I need to talk to the director of the diocese and make sure that I can do that. So again, it's like, I don't know, we keep hitting roadblocks on some of this stuff. And
Right.
it's,
I was trying to post a picture of the baptism record for
okay.
Dorothy McLeod, the one
Okay.
that the school had.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
that we know they have more records, the parents, when they were in,
Yep.
you know, how long, but,
yeah. And on some of those too, like, so mom's mom and her siblings, they had their Indian names on there too. So I don't know if it was Gilbert or George, one of them had Tabishko-Gijik, and it was written on the back of the card. So that's really cool that we're able to see some of the names that they had before they went in there and before they were given, you know, Christian names, or, you know, some schools didn't even have names. They gave kids numbers, you know, and that's just how it was.
right.
So yeah, I mean, trying to track these records, I mean, we're hitting roadblocks, but we're still going after it. I also was in contact, Penny did some research and found, what was the name of the church in Canada that we're trying to find records for?
St. Mary's.
Oh, it's another St. Mary's.
Yeah, it's another St. Mary's.
Like Sacred Heart or
Yeah,
something.
it is Sacred Heart, because when we were with Uncle Francis, he was mentioning, well, you know, go to this church, and we just couldn't find the church. And there's a lot of St. Mary's around there, and trying to figure it out. So after some digging, both Christine and I were digging at the same time, and then she sends me this link, and she's like, oh my God. And I think I sent her a link. I was like, oh my gosh. So we found a couple family members, but in that, I think we found Philip McLeod in there. So Christine emailed the church, or called the church a couple times,
Yep.
left voicemails, and then emailed the church with, hey, you know, we've got some questions and stuff, if somebody could get back to us, and crickets.
Yeah.
We have
yeah.
heard crickets.
Yeah.
So that's really, you know, kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
That we're just simply asking questions, and I don't know why we feel like, you know, for the most part in the United States, for the most part, they've been open to at least having the discussion. Whether or not they're telling us no and we're finding other ways around it, at least we're having the discussion. It seems like in Canada, that's a little bit of a different story, because even when we went to Algoma University, which
Algoma
was
helpful.
just phenomenal, because I think they're even dedicating an entire wing to it.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
You know, to the boarding school and the survivors and stuff. So they were super, super helpful. But they sent us to a few of the tribal offices, and there was nothing. I mean, even Uncle Francis was part of that tribe.
Yeah, he has a letter of descendancy, and it's dated in, I don't know, when he was going to school, he had to have proof of Native ancestry, and we had the U.S. side, but he wanted the Canadian side as well, so he had that letter with him, so we
Yeah.
took it to them. But in all fairness, I kind of get some of the hesitancy, because in Canada, their government is paying reparations to families of students who attended Indian boarding schools. Our government is not to that point yet, but Canada is. And Canada's boarding schools started like 25, 30 years after the United States, and they're already ahead of us. as far as reparations.
Mhm.
You know, and it's not about the money for us, really. It's just we want to find our family. We want to find out what happened to them. We want to make these connections, and you know, we've lost so many ties because of what happened. And then again, when the borders were imposed, right, we lost a lot of family that way. So we're just trying to find out who our relatives are, and you know, what have they been through, and you know, so excited to find the Desjardins, right, and
Yeah.
meet them. And that's my grandmother's side that we haven't had contact with them. They're all in Canada,
Right.
so we were just trying to find out, like,
I think
help us out, right?
yeah, I think we've kind of learned along the way though that so whenever I hear anything about the United States, like especially now and watching the news, I'm thinking, oh, how can how do I get past that, not, you know, that feeling that I have every time someone mentions the United States, um, because of what happened to our family. So I think part of just, you know, without being like, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? You know, how do you slap the hand that feeds you when the United States has been very kind to us? And had we not known any of this, I don't know. I don't know how we would feel, right?
Yeah.
But so I'm like not trying to be anti-government or anti-United States or anything like that, because I mean there's a lot of positives to, you know, my freedom is one, you know, so I think about that often, but I'm at odds with it often every day. So I think our healing and understanding, like, just tell us what happened. Just tell us what happened so we can move on. I just
Yeah.
want to know what happened to my grandma.
Yeah.
I want to know so I can feel for her and move on, you know? So I understand now. It's unfortunate that I kind of had to go through this, and I don't know if you feel the same. It's like I kind of had to go through it in order to understand why people were complaining about things, you know, civil rights and stuff 100 years. I would think to myself, what's 100 years ago, dear? You know, like, we're a different generation and we don't do those things anymore. But do we?
Right.
But do we? Because yes, we do. And
Yes, we do.
so just, I just want a straight answer.
Yeah.
Really, just tell us
Yeah.
when we're asking these questions of these churches and of the tribes and stuff. Like Christine said, it's not about the money. It's about the understanding. It's about knowing, and you know, just give us the damn information, so we can move on.
Yeah.
And we're always at a standstill. So our healing is like, not, you know, non-existent, and we continue to get angry. So that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's how the
It's a cycle.
generations constantly move on and feel this way. There's never going to be healing for the next damn generation if they don't give us the information, and if they don't be honest up front about what the hell happened, so we can understand. You know, we'll never accept it, but we will definitely be understanding, you know, that this is a different time and these are different people, and your willingness to help us heal, you know, generations later. Just be kind to the next damn generation. I'm
Yeah.
just so frustrated by it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I'm totally on a
Yeah.
soapbox, but that's part of where our frustration lies. It's, you know, not just about ancestry and building our tree. It's about knowing where they were and what they did. And
Yeah, and that's pretty much what my thesis is all around, is healing that intergenerational trauma, right? Because a lot of what our ancestors experienced in those schools, and even, I mean, everybody has intergenerational trauma. It's not just something felt by Native peoples, right? Like, look at the German and the Jews and what happened over there. And every race of people has this. If you have a family member who has been through a traumatic experience,
sorry, my dog has the zoomies. Oh my God.
you know, like, you know, there's been sexual abuse, or there's been domestic violence or whatever, right? And that person doesn't heal from it. Genetics have shown that that's passed on to your kids. You know, they might have a phobia about something and just completely not understand, or they're just like startled or scared or anxious or whatever, right? Those are some of those things that have been passed down from generation to generation because of things that have been experienced by somebody else. So it's all about healing that trauma, and we can't do that unless we know the truth of what happened, and we get back our traditional ways, the things that were lost and taken from us and beaten out of our ancestors and all of those things. Like, let's remind everyone again, 1978 was the date it became legal for Native Americans in the United States to practice spiritual practices. Before that, they could be jailed, okay? They could be hung, they were killed, like all of these things. If they were found doing a powwow or doing a spiritual whatever, there was persecution for it, right?
Yeah.
Until 1978. I was 4 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So,
It's not that far gone.
no. And just thinking about the revitalization of indigenous languages, of our cultures, we still have our medicine man that we can go see and we got our names from. It's amazing to think we still have all those things despite the government's attempts at erasure. It's truly, truly amazing, the things that we have to this day,
Can you put a
because our
tree
ancestors fought for these things,
in
right?
his thing? I'm sorry. He's being really annoying.
It's okay. Puppies are like babies. They're unpredictable, right?
Right. Yeah. So, you know, here's a story too. So, you know, when we were younger, growing up, my mom would get so frustrated when somebody would tell her, would be prejudiced, to the point of totally belligerent and short-tempered with us. And like we're thinking, I know I was anyway as a kid thinking, what the heck is wrong with my mom? Like, okay, mom, so people have prejudices, you know. I didn't understand it, one, being young, and two, like, is it really that big of a deal, you know? But then as I grew up and my mom would share with me the stories about how they would pick on her in school, you know, and do blah, 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 you know, just totally shame her for being an Indian. And so then I think back on those times and I'm thinking, wow, she was what, 21 when she had me. So, or 20 or 21, she's just fresh out of high school where they shamed her, you know? And she even punched a boy in the face and gave him a bloody nose and got expelled. And my grandpa picked her up from school and she thought she was going to go home and get a whooping. She just told me this story. She thought she was going to go home and get a whooping. And so when he picked her up and he asked her, you know, what happened, already knowing what happened, she told him. And then he said, we're going to keep this between you and me. He said, but pretty much, nice job, kid. You know, you need to defend who you are, and there's no way that I'm going to punish you. You've already been punished for having to endure that kind of thing. So I miss my grandpa. But yeah, so so when my mom told me that, I was like, oh my God, that is like the coolest story. But at the same time, you want to like hug her and cry with her because, and then so just like those stories. Now my mom just shared that story with me just a couple weeks ago, so she doesn't openly talk about, you know, all those things because it still really is like, what the hell. So yeah, it's, you know, like what Christine was saying, she was already born when that crap was still happening and when the laws changed. But we all know too that when the laws change, how long it takes the people to start going through those changes and accepting the change. Just because the law is there doesn't mean it's acceptable. So I mean, and we see that today, you know, with all different kinds of races and creeds and things like that. So, but anyway, that is our rant and our golden path as to why we're doing what we're doing anyway. So,
yep. And helping other family members reconnect, you know, one of the goals we want to work on is developing a website so that all of this information that we're sharing with you all the documents that we get, you know, you all don't have to do the searching for. We're going to get those records, and we want to create a website where anyone who's willing to learn or want to connect with ancestors or connect with the language or connect with the culture or whatever, we want to be able to build something where everyone can have access to that. So, and even like these lists of names and their parents and baptism dates and all of those things, like we want to create something that everyone has access to. Even the live videos that we're doing where we're sharing all this information about what happened at the boarding schools. And I know we've mentioned this in previous lives as well, but 1996 is when the last Indian boarding school closed in Canada, and it was 1984 84, 80, somewhere in there. 80, I don't know the exact date, but it was the mid 1980s when it closed in the United States. And yes, in the 80s, it was different than, you know, what our grandparents and their siblings had experienced in the schools in the 1930s and 40s, right? It wasn't, you know, policies have changed in the United States, and some of them even towards the end started having some of the culture, you know, where they invited elders to come in, and, you know, kids weren't forcibly taken away from their families, you know, but that doesn't dismiss what happened to our families, you know, and in order to understand everything that happened in those schools, we have to hear every story, you know. Part of the thesis of information that I'm including in my thesis is around 5 different documentaries, and one of them just came out. It was Sugarcane.
Oh.
Whew. That has got to be the most difficult one I've watched, and I've watched a lot over the years. It was the most raw, the most descriptive. Like, I don't want to say too much. I'd rather you all watch it. It's called Sugarcane. I think it's on Hulu now. National Geographic is the one who had done that. There's another one called We Were Children. There's another one called Indian Horse. I mean, you can do a Google search on Indian boarding school documentaries and movies. There's some really good ones out there. And as hard as it is for us to hear these stories again, if our elders are strong enough to share those stories that they've been hanging on to for decades and decades, we must hear them. It's all part of the healing process. Every narrative, as hard as it is going to help us heal in the end, you know. So along with our ancestry work and along with some of these books that we've been sharing with everyone too, we have found, is it on the Williams side, where the Potawatomi, Williams and Cloud? So we knew that there was Potawatomi ancestry somewhere in our tree, because in some of the census records and the Durant roll as well. I'm going to share that link actually quick too. You can search the Durant, and this one is a little bit hard to find. There's one website, Academia something, that has this information as well, but it's a little bit harder to go through because it's like, I don't know, 6 different documents. But let me just share this one. This is the 1870 census, 1908 Durant roll, and the 1910 Durant supplemental roll. So basically the Chippewa and Ottawa of Michigan. And this is what this field notebook is from those Durant rolls. So I'm going to put that link, and you can see how Penny's paperclips, right? Those are all family. All family. And they're separated by chapter under chiefs. So you can see we have a lot of chiefs in our family tree. Let me post that link here. So this is the Durant roll. And this link has been hard to find at times too. I think the owner of this website changed. So there was a time where it wasn't even accessible at all, but I'm putting the link here so that we don't lose it. So anyone from that time, 1870 to 1907, I think it was, who was on the rolls or enrolled in a tribe when they had gone Special Agent Horace Durant. That's his field notes, and that's what that book is. So up to 1907, yeah. So what's really cool is it lists their Durant number. So, and that we found that out, that the enrollment number that's listed on ours is from that Durant book. And then there's a file number. So Penny and I have the same Durant number, but our file number is different because she's under her mom. Obviously, I'm under my mom. But it ties that original enrollment number comes from the Durant roll number from our grandpa who was enrolled. And so anyway, we're finding the Potawatomi names in that field notebook. It'll say wife so-and-so enrolled with Potawatomi. So we knew, but we just didn't have records. So Penny found this amazing book, Potawatomi Indians of Michigan.
And that book, it took me forever to get.
Guess what? I just got it.
Oh, you did.
Amazon has it now.
So, but Amazon, I was on a hold list or on a wait list for months to get that. And then when it popped up, I was like, hey, Christine, look at what I got. She's like, how did you get it? And I was like, I just got it. So she must have just jumped on it and got it too. So we don't get access to those books
Yeah.
all the time, you know?
And this is even more challenging than some of the books that we
Mhm.
have because all of the names are their Indian names.
It's very,
Some of them translate a little bit later on to, I don't know which one of them on there. We've also realized that some of their last names, or surnames, whatever you want to call it, is what their last name translated to.
mhm.
So like the native word for moose, right? Translated to the last name of moose. So we see a lot of, there's a lot of Gijiks or Tabishko Gijiks or other Gijiks, right? That's another Anishinaabe word that's been translated. Or Jawan, Jawano, Jawanig, Jawano Gijik. There's so many different of that, right? And that word Jawano is south.
Yeah, and
Shawno.
it all depends on whether it was Horace, you know, doing the Durant role or putting that together during that time, how he interpreted,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what they said, or how the pastors or the bishops,
Mhm.
you know, did it or interpret it too. So this book is another one. It's the diary of Bishop Frederick Baraga, and he baptized a lot of our family members, because in this book you'll find a lot of his name is in there, like quite a bit.
And we got this from the church, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Michigan, in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, in Michigan, and they sell them for, I think, Aunt Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, like $25. And if you ship it, that you have to pay for the shipping. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah. So, I mean, just connecting the dots of all the family, I think it's just it's another interesting part too. You know, we get to learn. Like in this book, I was sharing with Christine. I was like, even though she has it, she hasn't had time to go into it and digest it. She's just at a different point, you know, especially working on her thesis. That I'm like, can you believe that this bishop was for the people, kind of for the people, you know? And then when I say for the people, I mean for us,
Indians.
for Indians. And he stuck around to do what the right thing was to do, is to introduce Jesus Christ to, you know, all the people. But in the book as well, it also says that he did not force it. It wasn't a forceful thing. It was, hey, listen, this is, you know, Jesus Christ. This is the story. This is Christianity. This is, you know, how we should live, because, you know, that's who he was. He was a bishop. And then whether or not, you know, our people gravitated to him is a completely different story. And I don't know if it changes, you know, as the book goes on. I'm still reading it, but it feels like there might be some tempo changes in there. Like something happened and they didn't like him anymore, or vice versa. I'm really not sure. So.
And was he the one too, who was helping with the Ojibwe language too? Or is there mention in that book about it? I remember reading some of them. Again, we have so many different books and resources that we're using for some of this.
Yeah, no, I think that is Henry Schoolcraft.
Okay.
Now, Henry Schoolcraft is the person that was Indian, and he, at the request of all the elders, to write down, like, listen, hey, the world is changing, and they're taking away our culture, and I want you, grandson, to figure out what our culture is and put it on paper so it's not lost. And that's, you know, kind of what he did. And in fact, we were, as an Ojibwe people, we were introduced in St. Paul, Minnesota's first newspaper. The article is very terrible. It's super crappy.
Oh, Mom just said his church is now a museum on Sugar Island. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. And then, so he was a very important piece to saving our culture. And I think when we were on a live last time, we talked about that book. So if you're interested in the history of the Ojibwe people, or the Chippewa, you definitely want to.
Is that the one written by Warren?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's another cool thing. So Penny, do you have that book? Do you want to go grab it quick? Okay, so it's written by this guy with the last name of Warren. And I'm like, I know I've read something else. I don't know if it was in Fred Berga's book. I don't remember what book it is. Again, we have all of these different resources that we're pulling information from. But I was like, I think we have a connection in our family tree. And so I went onto Ancestry and I found his name, and then I found some of the relatives and then made the connection. He is a relative.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. Yeah, The History of the Ojibwe People by William Warren. Hold on a second.
What is
it
it
keeps
doing?
going. That's okay. It's coming up to her digital book. But yeah, I have a copy of the book at home as well. And it's so cool because it has, you can search through the book. There's an index in the back that has a lot of our relatives in there.
Mm-hmm.
So he was Native. I'm trying to think if it was his mom or dad. I want to say it might have been on his dad. Yeah, it must have been his dad's side, right?
Well, yeah,
With the Warren
his,
last
his
name.
mother was Mary Cadott.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that and the Cadott name, I
Yep.
mean, they have statues and everything of their family in a park that's
Yeah.
actually dedicated to the Cadott family. So,
Yeah.
And she was Ojibwe and French.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. When Christine shared that with me, I was like fishing through the book. I was like, okay, I'm going to skip ahead because,
Yeah.
wow. And then the mother's uncle, so Mary Cadott's uncle, is the chief or was the chief of the Crane clan. And the book is so interesting because it's like, this is how we are as the people, right? And then even for the people Warren, as one of them, like what they had to do to fight to keep it. So for him to understand, and I think he died at the age of 27 or,
He was young.
like really young. But it's just crazy how it worked. And how we ended up finding a book that was about our family.
Yeah.
It's super crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're done, I'll post some newspaper clippings. And this is kind of how it happened too. I'll make this real quick. So Warren was working with the United States. The United States says, hey, we're interested in learning about your family and your culture. So we're going to hire you and we're going to pay you $1,200 a year to write. And it was going to be like 4 episodes, if you will, 4 different things or, newspaper articles. Tell the story of your family. So he started to do that. And then what happened to him? I'm trying to remember now. They took back the contract. So they got his information. He wasn't able to finish it. And then he said, hey, or whoever was working with him, and then said, hey, sorry, thanks, but we're not going to pay you. So here he is without resources, no money, no food, no anything, because this was now his livelihood. So that angered me quite a bit, but I can only imagine what the rest of the book is. And the book is taking us forever to read because we're going in it through sections, and like Christine says, we have serious problems staying on task.
Because we're pulled into so many different, finding another article or finding another name or finding another connection or like these baptism records that we're finding and all of these things. It's just like, how do you just stay focused on one thing when there's so many things we're uncovering at once, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, Penny gets text messages, and I hope she puts her phone on Do Not Disturb at night, because I'm sure she's getting texts at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And a screenshot's like, oh my God, look at what I found, Penny.
Yeah, and we really don't care. We'll think about it afterwards. We're like, oh, well, she's probably up anyway, so who cares?
Like she's just getting up from work and I'm still awake.
I know, that's crazy. That's when I think Christina's got a serious issue.
Oh,
But yeah, so anyway, we found those and those articles in St. Paul Pioneer newspaper. Like, we don't even have access to those newspapers. You have to go, I had to do some serious digging to get copies of those papers because only the Library of Congress has those newspaper clippings. I could not get them off of newspapers.com. So to get them, I was like, hey, Christine, you got to see this stuff. You got to read it. Some of it's super funny because just the way they talked, but at the end of it, you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's how they talk about us?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here? So it's definitely an interesting read, and I'll get on posting that right
Yeah.
now.
just one last thing before we close for tonight. So Penny and I had gone down to the Chicago Archives, and this is last summer already, summer of 2024, where we had a list of 40 last names of our families, and I can't even tell you how many boxes of ancestry files that was, but we both, like, she took a box, I took a box, we screenshot the family files, right? And then they would take that box and we would get another box, and we went through 40 different boxes that had, I can't tell you how many different family member names on them, but we have those files, right? And they had told us while we were there that, hey, you can set up another time to come back and you can use our digital scanner so you're not using your camera. Because I'm telling you, oh my gosh, like, we were sitting trying to take pictures, right? And you got to get it up to make sure it's not going to get, like a glare on it. And some of them are so we're checking to make sure the picture's clear. And towards the end, we realized we're running out of time because we only had one day there. We're just like snap, 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 snap. Sometimes we get home and we're like, crap, that one was like fuzzy and I can't even hardly see it, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, they have this beautiful machine. You can use it for free. You just have to download their app so that every picture that you're taking on the scanner, so then it's like a PDF, right? It's like a piece of paper if you were to go to print it, rather than converting our pictures to PDFs, which is a lot of work. And then you download it into the app on your phone, so you have it. So I had emailed, there was this wonderful guy I was working with at the archives that Penny and I got to meet that day. He was so helpful, gave us a lot of other resources and of things that they have in the archives that we could eventually go through as well. And so I emailed him and it's like, hey, guess what? I'm not working right now. I'm working on my master's, but I actually have the time where I could come down there, probably spend a week, maybe stay with Aunt Jackie if she'd let me stay there. Of course she would. She's in Caledonia though, so it would be maybe an hour ride, but it's worth it, right? So I asked, I know you have this machine. What if I work as like an unpaid intern and I scan all the documents? Because before we had gone down to the archives, we paid for them to scan them and then email them to us. But it's like 70 cents a page or something like that.
Yeah.
And if the file's only 20 pages, that's not that bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of our family records are over 100 pages. And so I think between the two of us, we spent over $300 getting some of our family records. That's why we decided to go down to Chicago Archives. So anyway, I was like, how about if I just come down there and I'll use your scanner and I'll scan them in there, and I'm going to help you digitize those records so that everybody has access to them. Because when we paid for our family records and they were digitized, now it's public record and other people can access it as well. So I offered to do it for free. Like, you don't have to pay me. I'm just going to come down there because we need them anyway. Nope, sorry, we can't do that. Only our staff who is experienced, whatever, has the backgrounds, is allowed to do that. Even if you come and use our scanner for your own purpose, we can't use that. And I'm just like, again, it's like hitting roadblocks. Like, I'm going to do the work for you to help digitize these records. And you're like, nope, can't. Bubba waved hi. Hi, Bubba. My little grandson. So again, it's like, we hit these little roadblocks, but we're still going after it. We're not stopping. We're going to make this happen with or without the cooperation. I don't know. Maybe new people come on board and we'll get lucky and whatever, but that's going to be another trip. We need to get down to the Chicago Archives and use their scanner, make this job easier. We get our website up and running. We can make this accessible to everybody so that you all don't have to pay to get these records. And then also anyone from any other tribe who's looking to do the same. we're hoping to kind of guide you along with how to go about getting those records, how to go to the churches, and how to ask the right questions to get what you need, kind of thing. So we're kind of doing some of that work for you all. So hopefully you have an easier time than we did, right? So, all right. So we are almost at an hour right now. Thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully we'll be live again before, we've spent an entire summer without being able to, but sometimes life happens, family comes first always. And we do the best we can.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
All right, we'll see you all next time.
All right, bye.